This evening, we begin a conference which has been in the planning for some time. And the planning committee has tried to create a space for conversation. There are people here practicing theology as academics and teachers. There are people here practicing theology as pastoral workers. There are people here practicing theology as students. And all are welcome, and we will be enriching one another greatly.
It is wonderful to have you here, and I want to just ask you to think with me for a moment. Oftentimes when some of our presiders here, I think, for example, of Father Tom Shirky, when he's presiding at Mass, will oftentimes in his homilies address the congregation, not brothers and sisters, but church. You know, what do you think about that, church? Or does the church want to say amen? Will the church say amen? Amen. Yeah. And so I'm thinking world church.
Azalea is a Lakota word that describes the use of smoke for purifying and honoring. And it involves the burning or the smoldering of cedar, sweetgrass, or sage. And customarily, the azalea takes place at the beginning, before prayer, when participants take the smoke and they waft it over their bodies. And by doing this, they're doing a ritual, a mystical cleansing of their mind and spirit and their bodies. And it's a purification that's done in preparation for entering into prayer.
As we face the center, we acknowledge and honor this holy earth, this particular place where the paths of our lives cross. Our meeting here is holy. We proclaim with all creation, we are all one being.
What do we see the challenges for the church today? And I think today, more than ever before, we're called to have a real creative ecclesial imagination. I think really to imagine things that can be. To imagine things that can be an ecclesial imagination that create things and can create it in form not just of word theology, but of visual theology, of art, for example, of music, of songs. What are the rituals that we can incorporate and bring in this ecclesial imagination? What is this theology then that can bring out verbally the meaning of being experienced? I think that's what the church is being challenged today, to really involve the totality of the human person, all the senses and all the possibilities of really creating the imagination of what can be if the church is going to be a real leaven in society to create a more human society.
If issues of identity and liberation were paramount for the Africa of the 50s and for the immediate subsequent generations, undoubtedly these two are still very pertinent today. However, it is the abhorrent challenges of corruption, failed states, senseless, interminable wars, diseases, among others, which in my opinion easily make up the list of values of locality that local churches are called to address and by extension be.
How do you assess the kind of leadership that is growing from the small communities? And by assessing it, I mean, I'd like to put it in this concept of a participatory church. That's what you are developing. But what about the leadership? Is it participatory too? Because it seems to me when you ask that question that you are asking here, that's going to be the big contribution of those small communities to form leadership that will be participatory from the bottom all the way up to the top. It's not going to come from the top right now, but it can come from the bottom.
To answer the question that was posed here, I think anyone who's done Christian-based communities, I'm talking as like a female lay person in the church, is that it not only does it allow for participation, but I think that's a way it will change the universal church, the higher structure. But I'm hoping we move away from not only allowing participation, but wanting participation. If you've ever been in a small Christian-based community, when someone's missing, you notice that. And I think that's the way it changes, is that we realize it's not about, oh, we all have a place to participate. It's that we want that person who's missing to participate, because that's what it means to be church. I think that's the way it's going to change the hierarchy. It's not just allowing participation, but wanting people who previously didn't participate to speak.
So it's a very small community, a Catholic community in a very populated area. That is so we must remember that we are speaking almost in a Hindu-Muslim environment. That is the size of the Catholic community, less than 0.6%. So even though the community is minuscule, the community is very visible in Delhi. Two reasons are there. One is the vibrant liturgical life. Every Sunday, everybody can see Christians going to churches. Often there are not churches available, maybe the institutions, maybe small halls, but people see Christians going for worship. And also because of the many kinds of services which the Christian community is rendering to the larger populace. It may be schools, hospitals. So we work in slum areas. A group goes to the prison and so many parishes, slum colonies. So a lot of work with street children, work with rickshaw pullers. So a lot of involvement is there. I'm in charge of that.
It just blows my mind. How do you get children to be that proactive? And I'm asking you, so what do you think has been the reason behind the effectiveness of the kids? Why do the people decide to listen to them and make changes?
This is supported by number of NGOs. It's not the children, NGOs are facilitating that. And also the self-help groups of women are also supporting that. So it goes together. The beautiful thing is that how the children are formed in democratic values. They learn to function as a democracy. So if it catches up, when these children come up, they can have a bright future for democracy. That is the important thing.
We create a situation whereby when we are trying to even envisage possibilities of change or transformation, we become very tentative. The ability to offer oneself without thinking of what I'm going to lose, or realizing that, my primary aim is not what I'm going to lose, but rather what I'm going to give, or what I would like to give. I think that's a challenge that I would take as a challenge for the community called church.
I think whenever we face the issue of, Christian church involvement in the political arena, I think we have to deal with and face squarely the question of power and powerlessness, both on a practical level, on a theological level. The church also has to, especially the church in the Philippines, for example, which is a majority church, etc., has to reflect on, okay, what does it mean to be powerless? And that is a part and parcel of Christianity.
In talking about these issues, there are issues that I find personally very challenging. Because the question I constantly ask myself is, given my position as a theologian, therefore a voice within the Christian community, how can I use that as a means of contributing to social transformation? And I think that's a challenge which I leave with all of us. because I don't want to create a situation where it's easier for me to write and criticize, quote, the hierarchy, forgetting that in one way or the other, I'm a professional Christian. This is what I do for a living. I'm in this church, and that's how I earn my daily bread. So I'm part of and parcel of this structure, and so I need to be also self-critical in making my own pronouncements on how the church can become more effective in taking a stance on social justice issues. Thank you very much.
My brothers, my sisters, the Lord is with you. Let us lift up our hearts. Let us give thanks to the Lord our God. It is right to give him thanks. The Ecclesiology Conference at the Jesuit School of Theology. Would all of those who are here and participating in the conference please stand?
For us today, I think the new challenges to this creative ecclesial imagination, how do we deal with some of the contrast between the particularity that are all searching and universality? How do we struggle with that, especially in the age of globalization? Especially in this age of globalization, where there are globalizing things that go beyond any of us. How do we really go out in ourselves, in our pastoral theological ministry, to create possibilities of the church that can be a home of great diversity, both at the world level and at the local level?